Imagine you're a songwriter. Not just any songwriter. You have written over 100 songs that have been played billions of times around the world. You have worked with Beyoncé, Adele, Taylor Swift, and Ed Sheeran. 4 Grammy Awards already stand proudly on your shelf. And one day, you open your laptop, navigate to a Korean music chart website, and you see your name. Your song. At number 2. Without a major promotional campaign. Without a media tour. Without a single appearance on an American talk show. Just a song. And a man named ParkJimin. That is exactly what happened to Ryan Tedder, frontman of OneRepublic, 4-time Grammy winner, and one of the most influential songwriters on the planet. When Be Mine, the song he wrote with BTS's Jimin, was released in July 2024 and immediately exploded onto the Korean charts. And when he was asked in an interview in December 2025, out of every single song he has ever written for any artist in the world, which song made him the most proud? His answer was not Halo. It was not Happy. It was not a song from one of the best-selling albums of all time. His answer was Be Mine by Jimin. Why? How did a song that was never made the lead single, that was never submitted to American radio, that never had a proper official promotional push, manage to outshine every other masterpiece in the mind of a producer like Ryan Tedder? And what does all of this mean for the future of Jimin and BTS? That is exactly what we are going to break down today. From beginning to end. All the facts, all the context, and everything you probably did not know about the extraordinary story behind Be Mine. Welcome. I am so glad you are here. This is going to be a long ride, but I promise you, you will not regret watching it all the way through. Before we dive in, if you have not subscribed yet, right now is the perfect time. Content like this takes a long time to put together, and new subscribers help this channel grow so we can keep making deep dives like this one. Hit subscribe. It is free, and you will not regret it. To truly understand just how significant Ryan Tedder's endorsement of Be Mine really is, we first need to understand who Ryan Tedder actually is. Because if you only know him as the lead vocalist of OneRepublic, the guy who sang Counting Stars or Apologize, then you are only seeing 10% of the full picture. Ryan Tedder was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1979. He grew up with classical music, started learning piano as a child, and developed an extraordinarily sharp musical ear from a very young age. But what truly sets Tedder apart from most musicians is his ability to not just write good songs, but to write the right song for the right artist at exactly the right moment. Tedder's songwriting career exploded in 2008 when Beyoncé released Halo, one of the most iconic songs in the history of modern R&B. That song won a Grammy. It made it onto countless greatest songs of all-time lists. And most importantly, it proved that Ryan Tedder could write a song that transcends time. After Halo, the name Ryan Tedder became a golden ticket in the music industry. He wrote Happier for Ed Sheeran, one of the most streamed tracks on Spotify during its era. He worked on Adele's albums, 21 and 25, 2 albums that collectively sold over 100 million copies and swept almost every available Grammy Award. He contributed to Taylor Swift's 1989, and the list keeps going. In total, Ryan Tedder has won 4 Grammy Awards. He has written over 200 songs that have charted on the Billboard Hot 100. Having Tedder's name in the credits of an album is a signal that the recording was crafted to the highest possible standard. And yet, this is the man who in December 2025, sitting in front of a YouTube camera, chose Be Mine by Jimin as the song that made him the most proud across his entire career. Not one of Beyoncé's songs, not one of Adele's songs, not one of Taylor Swift's songs. Be Mine, an Afrobeat track released in mid-2024 for a K-pop artist, one that had no official promotional campaign as a lead single and was never submitted to American radio. That is not false modesty. That is not a statement made to flatter Korean fans. That is the declaration of a professional who has heard thousands of songs throughout his life, who has seen everything the music industry has to offer, and still chose one specific song as the one that made him the most proud. In the interview dated December 3rd, 2025 with the MUI YouTube channel, Tedder said, and I quote directly, "I did a song with Jimin last year that did pretty well. I think it's a big K-pop pick called Be Mine. That was crazy cause we wrote the song kind of quick and 6 months later they were like, hey, it's coming out, it's the second single. I had no idea." He then continued, "I opened the Korean chart and it was number 2. It's kind of shocking how it happened so quickly. I'm proud of how well that song is done. Try to imagine that from his perspective. He wrote the song in a short amount of time. There were no long discussions about strategy. No meetings about when the song would be released. 6 months later, he was suddenly told it was coming out. And when he opened the Korean chart, his song was sitting at number 2. That was not the result of a massive promotional machine. That was pure musical power, and the power of Jimin's voice. Now let's go even deeper into Be Mine itself. This song is not a product of coincidence. It is the result of several of the biggest names in the music industry sitting together with one single purpose: to create something worthy of Jimin. Be Mine was released on July 19th, 2024 as part of Jimin's second solo album, Muse. It is the 5th track on the mini-album, which consists of 7 songs in total. In terms of genre, the song is Afrobeat, an extraordinarily bold choice for a K-pop artist, because Afrobeat is not a genre typically associated with mainstream K-pop aesthetics. But that is Jimin. He has never wanted to play it safe. Ever since his first solo album, Face, in 2023, which made him the first Korean solo artist in history to debut at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 with Like Crazy, Jimin has proven that he is willing to take artistic risks that most other artists simply would not dare to take. Back to Be Mine. The list of songwriters reads like a page out of the who's who of the global music industry. There is Ryan Tedder from One Republic, a Grammy-winning producer who has worked with Beyoncé and Adele. There is Ollie Tamposi, the woman behind hits for Camila Cabello and Selena Gomez. There is Jacob Kasher Hindlin, a songwriter with a long track record in American pop. There are Evan and GHSDLOP, 2 Korean producers who have become loyal creative partners of Jimin. There is Dog, Big Hit's signature producer who has worked with BTS since the very beginning. And of course, there is Jimin himself, whose name appears in the writing credits for 6 of the 7 songs on the Muse album. Musically, Be Mine feels like something that does not ask for permission to enter your ears. It opens with a guitar that carries a Spanish-influenced, sensual, slightly mysterious tone, and immediately begins building an energy that is entirely different from the rest of the album. If Rebirth feels like a grand spiritual awakening, and Slow Dance feels like 2 people swaying in a room that exists only for them, then Be Mine feels like someone looking you directly in the eyes and saying, I know what you want, and I want the same thing. Melon, Korea's largest music streaming platform, officially described the song as having a sensual atmosphere created through a striking sound, instinct-driven lyrics, and a repeated chorus that leaves a strong impression. That is not a description for a song that wants to play it safe. That is a description for an artistic statement. And Jimin's vocals on this track? A music critic from Bangers and Bops wrote, he stirs up sweet, sexy vocals, and his upper register and falsetto are particularly ripe. Jimin's upper register and falsetto have long been recognized as some of the most distinctive and powerful in the K-pop industry. But in Be Mine, both elements serve the emotional arc of the song rather than simply showing off technical ability. The result? A song that feels deeply and unmistakably Jimin, while simultaneously feeling completely universal. A song that made Ryan Tedder open a Korean chart and not believe what he was seeing. But there is one part of the story that we need to discuss honestly. Because behind the organic success of Be Mine, there is a question that continues to haunt many people. What would have happened if the song had received the promotion it deserved? Jimin's fans, and even Ryan Tedder himself indirectly through his statements, seem to agree that Be Mine did not receive treatment proportional to its quality. In an article from Sportskeeda published in December 2025, one fan wrote, "It is not too late for a Be Mine performance video. It deserved to be a main single." Another said, if it was released as a single, it could have entered the Billboard Hot 100. With the fact that Ryan Tedder calls Be Mine the most proud moment of his career, a career that includes songs for Beyoncé and Adele, it is hard not to wonder about the road not taken. To truly understand the place of Be Mine in Jimin's career, we need to look at the Muse album as a whole. Because Be Mine is not just one good song sitting inside an ordinary album. It is one piece of a body of work that proved to the world that Jimin is a serious musician with a consistent and courageous artistic vision. Muse was released on July 19th, 2024 under Big Hit Music. It is Jimin's second solo album, following the enormously successful Face in 2023. If Face was an album about confronting yourself, about the courage to look inward and not run from what you find. Then Muse is an album about inspiration, about love in all its forms, about the beauty and complexity of human connection. The album immediately claimed the #1 spot on iTunes in 107 countries around the world. From Korea to Papua New Guinea, from the United States to Cape Verde. That is a staggering number, and remember, this happened without a promotional campaign comparable to the launch of a Taylor Swift or Beyoncé album. Every song on this album is the result of collaboration with carefully selected names representing the very best from different corners of the global music industry. The lead single, Who, was crafted alongside Jon Bellion, the producer behind The Monster by Eminem and Rihanna, and Memories by Maroon 5. Jimin called Bellion the American Namjoon, the highest compliment he could possibly give to any collaborator, given how highly he regards RM's lyrical and musical abilities. Slow Dance features Sophia Carson, an actress from Disney's Descendants franchise and a singer with her own dedicated international fan base. Two people from completely different worlds, meeting in a soft, intimate R&B song. Smeraldo Garden Marching Band features Korean rapper Loco with production that fuses hip-hop with explosive marching band orchestration. And Closer Than This, considered by many fans the most emotionally resonant song on the album, was made with Ao the producer and Kofo, bringing a warm and soulful American R&B sensibility. And sitting right in the middle of all of these songs is Be Mine. Track 5, positioned at the center of the album like a breath, like a shift in atmosphere. From the depth of Closer Than This, the album moves into the bold, unapologetic energy of Be Mine. A transition that feels completely intentional and perfectly executed. Jimin wrote 6 of the 7 songs on this album. This is not an artist who simply shows up to the studio, records a song someone else prepared, and goes home. This is a musician who is fully immersed in every artistic decision that shapes his work. And that is precisely why world-class producers and songwriters are willing to collaborate with him. Not because his name is huge, but because working with Jimin means working with someone who knows exactly what he wants and has the confidence to hold his vision firm, even when sitting across the table from names like Ryan Tedder or Jon Bellion. The story between Ryan Tedder and Jimin did not end with Be Mine. If anything, Be Mine was only the opening chapter of a creative relationship that has continued to grow and expand. On February 23, 2026, Ryan Tedder performed as the opening act for OneRepublic's From Asia with Love concert at Jamsil Arena in Seoul. On that stage, in front of thousands of audience members, Tedder announced something that immediately sent shockwaves through the entire music industry. He said, "Most recently, I did a lot of work on the upcoming BTS album. It absolutely blew me away how talented they were, and I think it's honestly one of the craziest things I've worked on in my whole career. I know you're going to love it." That one sentence, "one of the craziest things I've worked on in my whole career," carries so much weight. Remember, this is a man who has written for Beyoncé, Adele, and Taylor Swift. This is a man whose life has been spent in the world's finest recording studios, working with artists who operate at the highest conceivable standard. And he is calling the BTS Erarang album one of the craziest things he has ever worked on. Tedder's statement did not stand alone. Diplo, the legendary American DJ and producer whose career spans nearly 3 decades, spoke to TMZ about his involvement in the Erarang album. His words, "I just feel so lucky because I've been working for 3 decades, and to link up with a group like this is gonna shock the world." Then there is Max Martin, a name synonymous with pop perfection. The Swedish producer responsible for hits by NSYNC, Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, Katy Perry, and The Weeknd. The man who is statistically the second most successful songwriter of the modern era, behind only Paul McCartney. Max Martin has also been confirmed as a contributor to Erarang. And Jon Bellion, Jimin's collaborator on Who from Muse, is also returning for this full BTS album. Take a moment to really sit with that. Max Martin, Ryan Tedder, Diplo, and Jon Bellion, all on one album. That is a lineup that, if announced in the context of an American or European pop album, would make the entire industry stand up and pay attention. But this is a BTS album, which means the standard was already different from the very beginning. And the direct line back to all of this leads to Be Mine. Because without the experience of working with Jimin on that song, without the moment when Tedder opened the Korean chart and saw his song at number 2, without the profound pride he felt from that collaboration, will the creative relationship between Tedder and the BTS ecosystem have grown to this point? We cannot say for certain. But what we can say is this: Be Mine was the proof to the world that working with Jimin produces something different. Something that even the greatest songwriters in the world cannot fully anticipate. The Korea Herald, in its coverage of Tedder's statement at the Seoul concert, noted that Tedder had previously called Be Mine the song he was most proud of in his entire career. That is the bridge connecting 2 points in the story, from a single Afrobeat song with no official promotional push to one of the most anticipated albums anywhere on the planet. As we approach the end of this video, I want to step back from the narrative for just a moment and look at the bigger picture. Because the story of Be Mine and Ryan Tedder is not just the story of one great song or one successful collaboration. It is the story of a pattern that keeps repeating itself throughout Jimin's career, and a pattern that becomes clearer with every single step he takes. That pattern is simple but incredibly powerful. Quality always wins over strategy. It was not a massive promotional campaign that pushed like crazy to #1 on the Hot 100 in 2023, making history as the first Korean solo artist to reach the top of that chart. It was not a multi-million-dollar marketing budget that made Muse debut at #1 on iTunes in 107 countries. It was not a media strategy that made Ryan Tedder, a man who could work with literally anyone in the world, choose Be Mine as the most proud moment of his entire career. What wins is quality. What wins is a consistent artistic vision. What wins is the courage to take risks. To put an Afrobeat song on a K-pop album, to work with Ryan Tedder and trust that something truly extraordinary would come out of it. To write 6 out of 7 songs yourself on an album that is marketed globally. And there is one more dimension to the story that makes it even more remarkable. Jimin accomplished all of this while also completing mandatory military service, something required of every Korean man of a certain age. He entered the military in October 2023 and was discharged in June 2025. During that period, the Muse album was released, proving that all the preparation and recording had been completed before he entered service, and the quality of the work was not diminished one bit by the constraints of that timeline. Now, with the BTS album Erarang set to release on March 20th, 2026, with names like Ryan Tedder, Max Martin, Diplo, and Jon Bellion behind it, with all 7 members of BTS returning together after nearly 4 years of hiatus, the question is no longer whether Jimin and BTS will succeed. The question is, how large will the impact be? Ryan Tedder has already given his answer. Diplo has already given his answer. And now, after everything we have discussed today, from the humble origins of Be Mine to Erarang, which is about to change everything, I want to know yours. Do you believe that Erarang will be the greatest album in BTS history? Do you think Be Mine deserved far better promotion than it received? And most importantly, is there a Jimin or BTS song that you feel has been underrated, one that deserved far more attention from the world? Write your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, and I genuinely want to know what you think. Before you go, there is one thing I want to ask of you. If this video gave you something, whether that is new information, a fresh perspective, or simply that warm feeling of pride that comes with being a Jimin or BTS fan, please hit the like button. It is free. It takes less than 1 second. But for this channel, it means everything. Your like helps this video reach more people who may have never heard the extraordinary story of Be Mine and Ryan Tedder. And if you have not subscribed yet, you just watched this entire video, which means content like this is something you genuinely enjoy. So why not hit subscribe? Every time there is new content about Jimin, BTS, or K-pop more broadly, you will be notified immediately. No spam, no irrelevant content, just deep dives like this one, made with real time and genuine dedication. Hit subscribe, hit like, leave a comment below. Together, we keep bringing stories like this one to more ears around the world. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next video, take care of yourselves. And never stop listening to the music that makes you feel alive.